Rex is a gorilla. Your folks are both gorillas. You are a gorilla.
They propose revisions that always seem to involve less respect for the rights of free nations and less freedom for the individual. These matters would be difficult under any circumstances. They are further complicated by a trend in Western countries away from global engagement and democratic confidence. Parts of Europe have developed an identity crisis. We have seen insolvency, economic stagnation, youth unemployment, anger about immigration, resurgent ethno-nationalism, and deep questions about the meaning and durability of the European Union. America is not immune from these trends. In recent decades, public confidence in our institutions has declined. Our governing class has often been paralyzed. The American dream of upward mobility seems out of reach for some who feel left behind in a changing economy. Bigotry seems emboldened. Politics seems more vulnerable to conspiracy theories and outright fabrication.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, a secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets.
Now, as you may know, my running mate, Tim, is Catholic and went to Jesuit schools. And one of the things he and I have talked about is this idea from the Jesuits of the Magis, the more, the better.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another reading of Code Word Barbelon today on this Sunday, April 1st, 2018. And we have Chapter 28, Rome and the American Civil War, a Jesuit coup d'etat. Is that correct, Jörg? Did I get that right?
No, we are Abraham Lincoln, the Jesuits, and the American Civil War we are on.
My marker was in the wrong spot.
The 29.
Chapter 29. We just did 28. That's right.
Yeah, I don't want to redo that because that was really a nice recording.
Yeah.
And I want to start saying Happy New Year, brother.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You know, today, that's right. This is the real deal. This is the real deal.
Biblically, it is today more than on the 1st of January, the new year starting.
I agree, you know, and this is why I had the push to get these videos that I've been working so hard for a year on up, is because of that principle that, yeah, we've been duped on the real calendar. You know, I think in Martin Luther's time, this would have been the New Year.
Martin Luther lived at the time of the Julian calendar.
That's right.
And at that time, New Year still was on the 1st of April.
Wow.
It changed in 1572 when Pope Gregory changed to the Gregorian calendar.
Wow.
He scrapped
after the Council of Trent, then, was that?
1572 is after the Council of Trent, yeah.
Right.
He scrapped 11 days from the month of October. From the 4th to the 15th or something, but it continues in the date, but it's just, you know, there's a picture that I have on there, but you can put that on maybe if you want to. We use that during the reading of Characteristics of Antichrist because he thinks to change times and laws.
Oh, yeah.
And he does with the calendar whatever he wants,
horn.
You know.
Yeah, that's right.
The little horn.
Can't forget that.
So we are in chapter 29 of Code Word Barbelon 666, Danger in the Vatican, Abraham Lincoln, the Jesuits, and the American Civil War.
I think it's such an incredible, that last chapter was such an incredible read.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So this is just a continuation of the Civil War and the Jesuits' influence. And, of course, this wonderful quote, Jörg. So I'll let you just get going with it. I'll just refrain from commenting anymore.
Oh, please comment whenever you feel so. This is why we're doing this together. Huh?
I'll let you know.
I hope that my voice comes over okay.
It's good. Yeah, better than yesterday, brother.
It's a little bit better than yesterday.
Yeah, it is. But still, quite a bit better, actually.
Okay. Anyway, so the chapter starts with a quote from Abraham Lincoln, 16th President of the United States. The war, meaning the Civil War between 1861 and 1865, would never have been possible without the sinister influence of the Jesuits. Unquote. War. The opening shot of the Confederate Rebellion rang out on April 12, 1861. 1 month after Lincoln was proclaimed President of the United States, the 4th of March, 1861, wrote Charles Chiniquy. In this chapter, we shall discover what President Abraham Lincoln, also called Honest Abe, said in his view was the real cause of the American Civil War. 1860, 20th of December, the state of South Carolina announced it would secede from the Union and become a separate republic. The federal government responded by calling on other states to send troops to suppress South Carolina. 6 southern states refused to comply and joined with South Carolina to form the Confederate States of America, with Jefferson Davis as their president. According to Father Chiniquy, Lincoln confided to him, quote, I feel more and more every day that it is not against the Americans of the South alone I am fighting. It is more against the Pope of Rome, his Jesuits, and their slaves. There are only very few of the Southern leaders who are not more or less under the influence of the Jesuits through their wives, families, relations, and their friends. Several members of the family of Jeff Davis are under the influence of the Jesuits. Even the Protestant ministers are under the influence of the Jesuits without suspecting it. Rome is doing here what she has done in Mexico and all the South American republics. She is paralyzing by civil war. She divides our nation in order to weaken, subdue, and rule it. I pity the priests. I pity the bishops and monks of Rome in the United States when the people realize that they are in great part responsible for the tears and blood shed in this war. I conceal what I know, for if the people knew the whole truth, this war would turn into a religious war, and at once take a tenfold more savage and bloody character. It would become merciless, as all religious wars are. It would become a war of extermination on both sides. The Protestants of both the South and the North would surely unite to exterminate the priests and the Jesuits if they could hear what Professor Morse had said to me of the plots made in the very city of Rome to destroy this republic. The true motive power of the Civil War is secreted behind the thick walls of the Vatican, the colleges and schools of the Jesuits. They have continued in a silent but most efficacious way to spread their hatred against our institutions, our laws, and our liberties in such a way that this terrible conflict became unavoidable between the North and the South. It is to popery that we owe this terrible civil war. I would have laughed at the man who would have told me that before I became president. But Professor Morse has opened my eyes on that subject. Our people are not yet ready to learn and believe those things, and perhaps it is not the proper time to initiate them into the dark mysteries of hell. Sooner or later, the nation will know. And then those who have caused those desolations and disasters will be called to give an account. Unquote. Now, I think there are several things that we could go into a discussion with what Abraham Lincoln said here. I mean, first and for all, of course, you can ask yourself the question, if he is called by his nickname, Honest Abe, if he is an honest president and he knows something about the history of his country and the war his country is going to be engaged in, and he doesn't tell all his people, can you still call him honest? Just a question that I'm asking.
Right.
And also we read that he says that if the people knew, I conceal what I know, For if the people knew the whole truth, this war would turn into a religious war and at once take a tenfold more savage and bloody character. But when he knows that this war is fought by the Jesuits, and the Jesuits are the militia of the Pope in Rome, then it already is a religious war.
Sure.
So,
Of course.
what's the problem? And then he also says, sorry,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it also says here, sooner or later the nation will know. Well, we are 2018 today, and the nation still does not know.
No, it doesn't.
There are a few people who are in the know, but most of the people are blinded by the lies of the Jesuits, as they were 150 years ago when that war was going on. So I think it would have been honorable of Abraham Lincoln to proclaim the whole truth about that war. But on the other hand, if he did so, they would probably only have assassinated him earlier
Sure. Yep.
if he spoke that truth.
Yes.
So don't get me wrong, I don't condemn what he says here. But when he says that I conceal what I know because if the people knew what it's all about, it would be a tenfold more savage and bloody. I cannot accept that he is called Honest Abe when he
Wow.
conceals something that important of the American people, that he is, and that is what a president actually is, Brett.
Yeah.
He is a chosen shepherd over the people.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. And it's interesting. The footnote, of course, this quote is taken from Charles Chiniquy, 50 Years in the Church of Rome. And that book is about Abraham Lincoln's dealings in his profession before he got elected to the presidency. He was a, what do you call
Lawyer.
this? Lawyer.
He was a lawyer, yeah.
Yeah, a lawyer. And he worked with Charles Chiniquy and quickly found out that he was fighting against the Roman Catholic institution when he was defending Charles Chiniquy in court. And yeah, that's an incredible subject in of itself. So, it's interesting because I think we talked about this yesterday, just a touch, Jörg, that Abraham Lincoln may not have been a fundamentalist Bible believer, but he had a, what would you say? He had empathy for Charles Chiniquy. And he took on the case to fight against the Roman Catholic institution right away in his early career, as maybe, I don't know, was it?
Yeah, that's true, because when he released Charles Chiniquy from the charges that were made against him, because they were all bogus charges.
Yep.
And Abraham Lincoln came up in the last minute with a witness that could not be destroyed, that absolutely revealed that Charles Chiniquy was innocent of all charges.
Mm-hmm.
And when they went down that courthouse, when they went down the steps, and Charles Chiniquy was very unhappy. And Abraham Lincoln asked him, well, I just pleaded you free. Why are you looking so unhappy? And he said, I'm not crying for me, I'm crying for you. Because when we were in that courtroom, I saw at least 12 Jesuits sitting there and looking at you, and they had your death sentence in their eyes.
Whoa.
Well, that's more or less the story about
Yeah, it is.
The correct quote, of course, you can get when you read Charles Chiniquy's 50 Years in the Church of Rome.
Which is an incredible book, and I would recommend anyone to pick that book up and read it. And I have a copy myself too. And
absolutely,
that is one of the most dear books to me, because it taps into this personal relationship between Abraham Lincoln and Charles Chiniquy, and it's such an incredible read, because you realize that those of us that have grown up with the Bible, and Charles Chiniquy grew up with the Bible, and in the first chapters of that book, you read about how the church wanted to take that Bible from that family and burn it. Right?
Yeah, I read that because I wanted to start the read. From Charles Chiniquy, the book in German,
Yes.
because I got a German PDF on that.
Yep.
But the problem is that the translator, that is the Schlachter Company,
Oh, yes, you told me
which
about
also
this.
also translated the Schlachter Bible, 1951 and 2000, into German. After the very first chapters, they left out a few chapters of the book because they said they don't want to start Roman bigotry.
Yeah, that's right. And what's the
And,
use of reading a book that doesn't tell you the truth?
That exposes what the Roman Catholic Church is,
Yeah.
when you cannot even expose those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just did one
Pointless.
reading of that book, and I said, sorry, if anybody wants to read that book, no problem, but I don't read a censored book like this. If ever I'm going to read it, it's probably in English. And in English, I haven't had the time to come to it yet. But as you just said, Brett, I also can just advise anybody to read that book. And most important is, that book, you can put the download link in the description box of this video so people can get it.
Oh,
it is
sure.
available for free as
Absolutely.
a PDF on the internet.
Yes, and I would recommend, if anyone would buy that book, try and seek after an old copy. You're going to pay like $50 at least, but believe me, it's worth it.
Absolutely, Brett.
Yep.
But the problem is that we are often speaking to people who don't have it financially as easy as many other people.
No.
We know that we have our problems financially, you and me.
Yeah.
And we know how that comes because we are Bible-believing Christians and we don't care about this world. And a lot of our listeners are in the same shoes. So when we can advise them to get the book for free, they can get the same information, but they don't have to pay for it.
Yeah,
I think it's just wonderful. I think it's just wonderful that the book is made public as a PDF on the internet, and that you can download it without any
Archive.org, I believe, Jörg, is where all of the really good old books are, the Protestant books. You can find them there in the search box at archive.org.
Well, there are surely books on archive.org, but
they're all over the place.
Also other places. So
yes,
it doesn't matter where you get it from, as long as you can provide the link in the description box. People can download that book for free and can read all the quotes that P.D. Stewart makes in his book here about Charles.
It's just like what you said,
for themselves.
Jörg, in this digital age that we're living in, sometimes people do make these translations or edits, and they take out offensive things, and they falsify the information. So it's kind of a hit or miss on the internet, and that's what troubles me. That's why I guess maybe that's my problem. I spend money on these old books, but at least
we shouldn't go too far away with our discussion here about that point. But of course, you are correct when you say a book that you have physically in your hand can nobody take away except they steal it from you.
Yeah.
A PDF, you don't know if you have the correct version on it. And when the internet is shut down, or you don't have the possibility to get access to the internet anymore because you don't want to share your fingerprints or iPrint or whatever to go on the internet, and you say you don't have the possibility anymore, if then you have the book laying, okay. But I'm just saying, because for the moment it is free, and you can get it for free. You can put it on an extra disc, and as long as you have a working computer where you can put that extra disc on, you will always have that, and you can read it with Adobe Reader.
But
Adobe is a free program. So
just really quickly, Jörg, is what's really interesting what's happening right now, because a lot of people are just getting rid of these old books. They don't want them. They don't want to read them. They don't want anyone else to read them, so they just get rid of them. And you can find them in the nooks and crannies of all over the place. You know? So, it takes a lot of effort to find them. Let's put it that way, you know?
The point is, Brett, that overall, people don't value old books anymore.
No, they don't. They don't.
That is a little bit the misery that we are living in, because, Voltaire said already that in the 16th and 17th century, there were more than 6,000 books published on the Jesuits available on the market. 6,000 books in the 17th century.
Man.
How many do we have today?
Man.
Probably not even 10% of that.
It's 400
You
years
know?
ago.
Yeah, that's 400 years ago.
It's a
And
long
I
time
think-
ago.
Or even or 300 years. But but these books are not available anymore. And why? Because the Roman Catholic Church got a hold of them, because they were out of print, and
Yeah,
because
300.
people didn't care for when they had them in their home to give them as a heritage to the next generation.
Yeah, that's right. You got it. So we'll move on. Yeah, I just couldn't help it.
I just wanted to say it is not wrong to buy a book, but of course when you're hard on the money, and then it's easy for you to get it as a PDF and you can download it and you have it electronically on your desktop on your computer.
It's
That's
good.
better than not having it at
Yeah,
all.
exactly. Yep, that's right. It's good enough.
It's a start. Huh?
Yes. Yep.
Make sure that you always have enough money that you have a Bible in your home.
Yeah, that's right. That's the most important book to have.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So P.D. Stewart continues on the bottom of page 298, 93, sorry.
Mhm.
Amazing stuff, these quotes. Truly thunderous. Yeah, I agree. But I think that, like I did in the little analysis that I did, that you really have to dig a little bit into that and analyze it. Why did he say these things? And I mean, just make up your own mind of that. I don't want to tell you what to think. Read it for yourselves. Listen to what I read here again, and then come to your own conclusions about Abraham Lincoln. But when you are a president of a country and you know of a conspiracy against your people and you don't warn them, in my eyes, that makes you a traitor.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Rome, according to Lincoln, was the real instigator behind the Civil War. This lends weight to Professor Scarpi's charge that, quote, the Roman Catholic Church is a gigantic ecclesiastical conspiracy, unquote. I cite here another singularly stunning charge against the Jesuits by Charles Chiniquy, whom, I remind you, was a priest and faithful Catholic for over 50 years. Quote, yes, without Romanism, the last awful civil war would have been impossible. Jeff Davis would never have dared to attack the North had he not assurance from the Pope that the Jesuits, the bishops, the priests, and the whole people of the Church of Rome, under the name and mask of democracy, would help him. A Roman Catholic, General Beauregard, the man chosen to fire the first gun at Fort Sumter against the flag of liberty on the 12th of April 1861, the Pope of Rome was the only crowned prince of the world, of the whole world, so depraved as to publicly proclaim his president of a legitimate government, i.e. Jeff Davis. Yeah, the most important part of the sentence what I just read is the Jesuits, the bishops, the priests, and the whole people of the Church of Rome under the name and mask of democracy. Nothing changed between the time of this quote and today.
Nope.
Under
that's
the
right.
mask of democracy are hidden the Pope,
Mhm.
the Antichrist, the Jesuits, the bishops, the priests, the whole quote-unquote shadow government with their bishoprics and with their dioceses all over the country. And that is hidden under the mask of democracy that they sell you.
Mhm.
Well, the United States of America was not founded as a democracy. The United States of America was founded as a republic. And there's a difference between a republic and a democracy.
Oh, that's one incredible statement you just made, and that really cuts right to the bone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's really what's going on. And in that dedication that Charles Chiniquy wrote in that book, 50 Years in the Church of Rome, he mentions that fact that we have entered into a permanent political conspiracy. And it is not going to go. It's permanent.
Yeah, listen, what is democracy? Democracy is the rule of 51% over 49%. So when you are unlucky to belong to the 49%, you are a big power in the country, but you don't have a voice.
That's right.
And that's only when democracy works, and it was supposed to be. Democracy, and I don't think that there are many people who know that, democracy eventually comes out of Egypt. But it was only working on a local level, on a little village or local level. Yeah?
Right.
It didn't work on a nationwide level. It wasn't supposed to work there. It's impossible. But they expanded that from this little mutual, or how do you say that, municipal, from this
Yes.
little municipal level, they blow it up to work on a national level.
Mm-hmm.
And it only works because they corrupted it. Because democracy today is not what democracy should be, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And this democracy that we are talking about today is not the democracy that we got out of Greece. This is democracy that we got from the Jesuits. They are the inventors of modern democracy, and they infiltrated the democracy. And this is why, I mean, you have to remember, Brett,
Mm-hmm.
Pope Pius IX, in his Syllabus of Errors in 1864, during the Civil War, by the way, condemned all ruling of the people, by the people, for the people. Every government that was not from the top down, that was not a monarchy, or that was not an ecclesiastical monarchy, a theocracy, as the Pope likes to call, of course, his kingdom in the world, he condemns. Yeah?
Mm.
And even though that we see after that there are a lot of democracies and republics in the world, today they don't care that much anymore. Why? Because they infiltrated all levels of that. And they have it in their pocket anyway.
Right.
That's why the Jesuits of themselves, they don't care what kind of rule there is in the country. They have the control anyway. They always control it from the top down. When you're living in a democracy, so-called, like I live in Belgium, or where I come from in Germany, or where you live over there in the United States of America, you are put into two different camps. You are put in the left camp, or you are put in the right camp.
Yep.
And then the left camp plays against the right camp, and in the end, the church is the winner, because they control the left camp as they control the right camp. And you're left there in the middle, passing your vote, and actually have to say nothing.
Yeah.
You know, there's a German secretary of he is now for the secretary of the Homeland, something like that, Seehofer, who comes from Bavaria, who a few years ago made a statement on German television where he said, you know, the people who are elected have nothing to say, and the people who have something to say are not elected. And he said that on mainstream television, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, Germany consists or has about 82 million inhabitants for the moment. I don't think that even a tenth of them heard this message from Seehofer. And from the tenth that heard it, I don't think that even 100% even understood what that implies. Well, they all know that they are screwed, but they don't do anything about it. They still keep electing these candidates.
Yep.
Whether in Germany, it's the candidates they put up there, or in the United States of America, it is the candidates the Democrats or Republicans or Independent put up there for you.
That's right.
I mean, there was a time when I was going to wake up that I was for Ron Paul
Mm-hmm.
because he sounded legitimate.
I know. Me too.
What
Yeah.
did I know as a German, as a European of American politics? But what Ron Paul proposed, especially the audit of the Federal Reserve and all that stuff, that sounded very legitimate.
It sounded legitimate. That's right.
Little did I know that Ron Paul was so often in Rome as I visited my grandmother when I was a child.
Oh man.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yep. They got all kinds of little programs they're running there.
Okay, so let's continue in the book. Maybe we can finish this chapter today.
Okay, cool.
It's just 2 pages.
Yes.
Lincoln said, quote, If the American people could learn what I know of the fierce hatred of the priests of Rome against our institutions, our schools, our most sacred rights, and our so dearly bought liberties, they would drive them out as traitors." Unquote. Why do you doubt this? These are the facts. All else is intrigue. Did we not read earlier that the Jesuit in his initiation is told, quote, "You have been taught to insidiously plant the seeds of jealousy and hatred between the states that were at peace, and incite them to deeds of blood, involving them with each other, and to create revolutions and civil wars." Unquote. Now, this is a textbook example of the American Civil War between 1861 and 1865. Most historians agree that it was the decision by Chief Justice Roger B. Taney that was the pretext for the Southern Confederacy's igniting of the Great American Civil War. And today, with the hindsight of history, we must now regard that war as the Second Catholic War on American soil. The first, as we shall see later, was the War of Independence, 1776 through 1783. Well, I have to applaud P.D. Stewart to see it that way, because that is absolutely my conviction too. And I think I said that already in our last broadcast, Brett, when I mentioned that all these wars are actually religious wars. And also, of course, that the War of Independence was the Catholic War.
Sure.
Because it was a war to get the colony separated from Protestant England.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's what it was all about. They couldn't get England. They couldn't get England through the Spanish Armada. They couldn't get England through the Bevin plot. They couldn't get England through the Gunpowder plot and through any other plot that they schemed during the last centuries. So they said, well, if we can't get England, we have to get America. Because they know, that's a saying of the Jesuits. They say, when Protestant England is broken from Protestantism, Protestantism is broken all over the world. Because that was the heart of Protestantism.
That's right.
Many people think the heart of Protestantism is in Germany. Well, that's not correct. The heart of Protestantism came out of England. It was Tyndale and Wycliffe. Wycliffe, the morning star of the Reformation.
That's right. Absolutely.
And of course, John Huss. Well, we know when John Huss was killed in the Council of Constance in 1514, he said, "You can kill this goose, but in 100 years a swan will come up, and him you will silence." He was prophetically speaking about Martin Luther, who came up and wasn't to be silenced with this translation of the Bible into German. Germany was then becoming the center, the driving port of Protestantism. But let us not forget that a year after Tyndale was burned on the stake in Vilvoorde here in Belgium, his last words came into existence when he, as his last words said, "O Lord, open the King of England's eyes." And the King of England's eyes, Henry VIII, were opened. And 1 year after Tyndale suffered death here in Vilvoorde on the stake, Henry VIII put the English Bible in the churches. And people had all of a sudden access to the English Bible all over in England. But we don't have to make we are easily to make the mistake that we think that the English Anglican Church was full Protestant, 100%. No, they were not. The Anglican Church was, and therefore I dare you, read the Westminster Confession, and you will understand what I'm saying here right now. Then you will understand that the Anglican Church was just a Protestant church with a lot of Roman leaven left in there, and that's the same. And that's the same what you have with the Lutheran.
Absolutely.
Because Luther also had a lot of Roman leaven in him until the day he died. And of course, that church that is founded on him also has had a lot of Roman leaven in there. Just talking about child baptism. and about all that stuff. There are so many things that I could name right now, but that's for a completely different broadcast. The point is that we should understand that we are dealing here with a Roman Catholic war. And this is very important.
Mhm.
When you refer to the American Civil War, don't refer to it as an American Civil War. Don't refer to it as a war between Americans, but refer to it as a war of the Roman Catholic Church against the American people,
Mhm.
against the new founded American nation.
That's
To
what it really
destroy
was.
everything that the people achieved. That's what it really was.
Yeah.
I mean, call a spade a spade.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is what the author does here. Yeah?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, most historians agree. No, that I read already. In the Civil War of 1861 and 1865, it was Chief Justice Taney's egregious and calculating decision in the case of Dred Scott versus Sanford, which said that, quote, a Negro has not rights, unquote, that a white man is bound to respect, that caused President Lincoln to go on the war path, so to speak. This anti-slavery rhetoric was just the excuse the Roman Catholic general Pierre Beauregard needed to join with his brother Jefferson David and to fire to the Union's military at Fort Sumter. At that time, Chief Justice Taney, the highest judge on the U.S. Supreme Court, was not only a devout Roman Catholic, but according to Dr. Walsh in his book American Jesuits, Justice Taney was, quote, under the influence of the Jesuits most of his life. Yeah, and James J. Walsh, also, I think, a member of the Society of Jesus, a very important person because he was the founder of the Department of Foreign Affairs in Georgetown University, right?
Mm.
Or is that another Walsh? No,
I'm
that's
not
Edmund Walsh.
sure.
That's Edmund Walsh. Yeah, I'm mixing that up.
Right. That's okay.
That's Edmund Walsh. But anyway, doesn't matter. Anyway, he says here that Justice Taney was under the influence of the Jesuits most of his life. So we are speaking here about the time of 1860, okay? Because it was before the war broke out. What do we have today in 2018 when you look at the Supreme Court of the United States of America?
Ooh.
You have at least 6, if not 7 Catholics running that court.
Yeah, that's right.
And you have at least 2 members who are members of the secret society Opus Dei. And you have at least 4 members, as far as I'm informed, that have relations to the Council on Foreign Relations, which is Jesuit founded.
Mhm.
And Opus Dei is a secret society within the Jesuits. So that would make them even up to a maximum of 6 Jesuit controlled. And these guys are there to interpret your constitution that we learned in the chapter before isn't worth even the paper that is written on.
Mhm.
No, don't laugh when I say that. Go back to the reading before on Cold Babylon that Brett and I recorded yesterday and listen to that again. And there, P.D. Stewart says it in his book, and he says it not because he wants to say it. He tells you that in quotes. That is source material that he said there. Okay? So we learn that the highest judge of the United States Supreme Court was not only a devout Roman Catholic, but under the influence of the Jesuits most of his life. So we have here that President Lincoln goes on the quote-unquote war path because, which was said in the Dred Scott versus Sanford case, a Negro has not rights that the white man is bound to respect. And the white man doesn't have any rights that the Roman Catholic Church has to respect because the Roman Catholic Church is the one that gives out the rights in the first place.
Mm. Pretty much.
Yeah. So, let's continue. It is of significance, therefore, that today there are 5 Roman Catholic justices on the benches of the United States Supreme Court. At least 2 of them, like Chief Justice Taney, have been under the influence of the Jesuits for almost all of their lives, and who are almost certainly Jesuits themselves. These two justices hold adjunct professorships at the oldest and most renowned Jesuit university in America, Georgetown University. And, as in the case of Taney, the current Chief Justice is a devout and uncompromising Roman Catholic. To return to the war. We know, too, that Jeff Davis, the Confederate president and the leader of the Southern Rebellion, had attended a Catholic college, the monastery of St. Thomas College, Bardstown, and sought to convert to Catholicism, eventually becoming a member of the Episcopal Church, a denomination which mirrors Rome's. Rome's involvement in, or rather her instigation of the American Civil War, is the best kept secret in American history. I would say it's the second best kept secret. Rome's involvement, or rather her instigation in the founding of the United States of America in the first place, is their best kept secret.
Mm-hmm.
And this must be the second best kept secret. It is a sad fact that most Americans are utterly unaware, and I would even add, and utterly ignorant of the role that the Jesuits of Rome played in the most costly war ever in their country's history, a war that, quote, cost more than 500,000 of the most heroic sons of America to fall on the fields of carnage, unquote. We hope that the reader will agree that no further evidence is needed of Rome's agency in the Confederate rebellion. Now, I think it was about 600,000 people that died in the war. As far as I know, it is only the Anabaptists that absolutely were on a Pacific railway. Pacific, I mean pacifist.
Oh, yeah.
Pacific,
Okay.
on the pacifist road. They were on the pacifist road. They were even exempted from military duty in many countries they were in that regard. If the United States of America, and I'm speaking not about the government now, I'm speaking about the people, if these people were all real, true, Bible-believing Christians, if the basis of the United States of America population would have been in the same mindset as the Valdenses and the Albigenses and all the other people that were mistreated by the Roman Catholic Church through centuries, if that would have been the mindset of the inhabitants of the United States of America, there could never have been a civil war, because Jesus says, do not kill.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't make an exception for war or whatever. Killing is a sin. And when you go to war and you pull up your gun and you shoot at somebody on the other side, you take into account that that person can be hurt, even hurt to death. And you are responsible for that. So you are sinning when you go to war. I mean,
Yeah, that's right. I agree.
listen, Brett, I really don't want to sound anti-American, but we have to understand that people are always willing to make compromises in this regard. I'm Christian, yeah, but I go to war. What kind of a Christian are you then? And it's nothing against Americans, we have that in other countries too. I say that to every people who say that they are Christian and then producing bombs and guns and machine guns and mines and tanks and ships and planes to kill other people. I say that to everyone. But how can you say from yourself you are a Christian and then join the military to go and be educated to kill other people? That's not Christian. You shouldn't make these... Oh, my voice is really going away now. You really should not make these compromises. When you are a Christian, and you call yourself a Bible-believing, a true fundamentalist Christian, then keep away from the military and all that stuff. You have
Well, I
nothing
think
lost
a
there.
lot of these militia type people justify it because, oh, they're heathens. They deserve to die. So they just go out and kill them.
You know, the only
They
time
do.
in the only time in the Bible when there were heathens that deserved to die, these heathens were killed by the Israelites that were led by the hand of God to give them the country that they had.
Yeah.
And
they're
God had legitimate reasons, and God was using the Israelites to kill the people because God is the giver of life, and He is also the one who has the only authority to take away life.
That's right.
But-
So what we have
but-
is a strong delusion leading these people into killing these other people today.
Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
strong delusion, Jörg.
It's a very strong delusion.
It's a
Yeah.
very strong delusion. And it's got a lot of people. It does.
And it's only bred because people like to compromise the Bible.
And they're not reading. No, that's right. They compromise. They have the wrong scripture, and they're indoctrinated with these lies.
It already starts in the United States of America with the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment isn't that the right to bear arms, or
Yeah.
is it the third?
Yeah. It's the second.
Okay, you have the right to bear arms.
The first,
But
I
you
believe,
also-
is freedom of religion, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or freedom of speech.
It's-
I forget.
It's your constitution, not mine.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
I only know that there's one of the amendments, and that gives you the right to bear
Oh,
arms,
the amendment.
and it gives you the right to form a militia.
Mhm.
You know, this is the point that I never understood of Bill Cooper when I was starting this research.
Oh, yeah.
Why
right.
is Bill Cooper always saying about organize yourself in a militia, arm yourselves, defend yourselves? How is that Christian? I mean, if the devil comes to you and wants to kill you, let him. He can only kill your flesh. You should not fear the one who can kill your flesh here on earth. You should fear the one who can kill your flesh and your soul in hell. And that's
right.
our Father who is in heaven and who has the power over all. That's the one you should fear. If Satan or one of his minions here on earth comes and wants to kill you, well, if you have Jesus Christ, let him. He's just promoting you to a better life. That's the way that I see it.
Well, yeah, I would agree. I think that Bill Cooper was just ignorant of the scriptures.
Bill Cooper was not a Christian. Bill
No.
Cooper did so many anti-Christian broadcasts about the devil and all that stuff. But still, I like that guy. I have sympathy with that guy,
Me too.
and especially since they killed him on Gunpowder Plot Remembrance Day, the 5th of November 2001.
Wow.
Yeah? But Bill Cooper also was advocating militia.
Well, he may have
was
drawn a
advocating-
weapon, on a policeman or something. I don't know. But, you can't mess around with the policeman with a weapon, man. They will kill you.
Well, if you want to know the real circumstance of all that, then you have to contact this Doyle guy who took over. I think he even made a video about all that and explained it, how in detail that assassination of Bill Cooper worked. But he didn't even shot a policeman or whatever. That was all made up.
Oh, sure.
It's a false flag operation from the beginning. They wanted to get rid of him because he announced on the 28th of June in 2001 that there will come
that's
an
right.
event in the United States of America, and they will blame it on
He
Osama bin
predicted
Laden.
all about Osama bin Laden way
And he
before it
said-
happened. Yeah.
And he said when they want to blame it on Osama bin Laden, don't believe it.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why they wanted to get rid of him.
And
I mean,
Bill,
Bill
what
Clinton-
was it?
Bill
Wasn't
Clinton
Bill
was the one
Clinton?
who's-
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
Bill Clinton was the one who said that Bill Cooper is the most dangerous radio host in the United States of America.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Bill Clinton didn't get rid of him. He got rid of Waco. Okay.
Yep.
But he didn't get rid of him. I
Not
mean,
right away,
Bill Clinton,
but
Bill
he did
Clinton-
eventually.
Bill Clinton earned his spurs.
Or
with
rather, the
Jesuits
administration
and
got rid of him.
spilling
Let's
blood.
put it that way.
Yeah.
the administration got rid of them, just like they got rid of this Minnesotan here in our Congress. I forget his name right off the top of my head now. Wellstone, Paul Wellstone. Yeah, same thing. They just get rid of people that are, politically a nuisance. You're a political nuisance. Well, we have ways of dealing with it. So they deal with it. And it's justified,
Yeah, I just hope that our listeners don't get me wrong. But there's a difference between being an America who bases his freedoms on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and there's a difference between that American and an American who bases his authority on the King James Bible and calls himself a Christian. And the difference is the first one will grab arms, goes into military, and will defend his quote-unquote human rights that are given to him by the Antichrist, and the other one, the Bible-believing Christian, won't do that. He will rely on Jesus Christ and will live by the word in which it is said, "Revenge is mine, saith the Lord."
Yep. Simple as that.
As I end this chapter, I leave you with a profound warning given by Abraham Lincoln. So says Chiniquy about the future of America after his generation had passed on. Quote, "I do not pretend to be a prophet, but though not a prophet, I see a very dark cloud on our horizon. And that dark cloud is coming from Rome. A cyclone such as the world has never seen will pass over this country, spreading ruin and desolation from north to south. Neither I nor you, but our children and children's children will see those things." And they did. And they still do. And they still will in the future, because Jesus Christ has not yet returned. How long, O Lord, how long must we hold out? In this world you will have tribulation, the Lord said. But don't despair, I overcome the world. And so do we. We are made free with the truth that Jesus Christ gives us. And his truth sets us really free. And with that, no man on this earth can ever in any way harm us, because we have the liberty of Jesus Christ. That's the most important liberty we should never give up. And next time when you think about me, about an American bigot or whatever, and tell me where in the Constitution, where in your Bill of Rights, where in all these papers is anything of the Bible mentioned, and then come back to me and we'll discuss that. For the moment, I thank you very much, but you see my voice is absolutely giving up on me.
Oh, Jurk, I have a comment here. This last quote you read from Charles Chiniquy is, of course, from here in the footnote. It says that that the revisers of history seek to dispute that Lincoln never or ever said this. Excuse me. The revisers of history seek to dispute that Lincoln ever said this and allege that Father Chiniquy simply made the whole thing up. Evidence herein speaks for itself. Yeah,
Well,
I mean, simply
the last sentence says it all.
Yeah,
the evidence herein speaks for itself.
Yeah.
By their fruits you will know them, Brett.
That's right. That's right. And if you're listening to us now, that very likely you might be very critical of what this world is trying to do with our heritage from Christ. And we have to stand up and defend our heritage from Christ because it's under attack. And I was listening to this video yesterday, Jurk. I sent you on Ian Paisley standing up before European Parliament. I don't know what year that was. Do you?
I think it was 1984 or something.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that must have took a lot of energy to stand up in front of that entire meeting and call the Pope the Antichrist
Yeah, sure.
before he addressed Parliament. That was an incredible portion of history there too. In our modern day, that's much more modern, but still, Charles Chiniquy's impact is very significant and goes right into Abraham Lincoln. And that book, 50 Years in the Church of Rome, is such a good fundamental history lesson and a Protestant lesson as well, because you have Charles Chiniquy actually coming out of the Roman Catholic faith and being a true Bible-believing Christian, finally realizing that this Bible it's a fake. The one that the Vulgate it's a phony. But anyway, Jörg, I really appreciate your time and energy you take to do these readings, and we'll wrap it up for today then.
Yeah, let's just hope that next time we come together, my voice will be a little bit better again.
Yes.
It's really annoying for myself also, so.
I'm sure. It prevents you from doing any recordings.
Yeah, it's a shame. I could have done so many readings the last days, and I couldn't do anything because of my voice. But yeah, beware when the lion being let loose again.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Jörg. Very well. And thank you for your time and energy, Jörg, and look forward to getting back on the stick and getting to the next chapter here, chapter 30, Lincoln's assassination, the untold story.
It's going to be very interesting, of course, yeah.
It just keeps getting better every reading we do now with this. And I have a gut feeling it's going to be that way with the entire next months to come, with the next chapters in the second book as well. Antichrist is a woman.
A lot to look forward to.
Yes, indeed. All right, Jörg. Do you have any closing comments?
No, you interrupted me during them, so I'm done.
Okay, very good. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and thanks for commenting. And please let us help you in the future if you want to leave us a comment, and we'll catch up with you next time. Bye-bye.
That for the first time in human history, for the first time in all of human history, almost all of mankind is politically awake. And these new and old major powers face still yet another novel reality, in some respects unprecedented. And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. I once put it rather pungently, and I was flattered that the British Foreign Secretary repeated this, as follows. Namely, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people. Literally, it was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
We're at the very beginning stages of a very brutal and bloody conflict. And I believe that we've come horribly off track in the years since the fall of the Soviet Union. And we're starting now in the 21st century, which I believe strongly is a crisis both of our church, a crisis of our faith, a crisis of the West, and a crisis of capitalism.
His son Jesus is here in our midst. His bride, the church, is honored to host an event affirming the dignity of the human person and the sacredness of all human life.
I think Russia is no longer a communist state, first of all. That's very important to realize. It hasn't yet defined itself, however, effectively as a democracy. It is still uncertain.
We're at the very beginning stages of a very brutal and bloody conflict, of which if the people in this room and the people in the church do not bind together and really form what I feel is an aspect of the church militant, if the people in this room and the people in the church do not bind together and really form what I feel is an aspect of the church militant, to really be able to not just stand with our beliefs, but to fight for our beliefs against this new barbarity that's starting, that we will literally eradicate everything that we've been bequeathed over the last 2,025 years.
You didn't mention the president by name, but it was hard not to conclude that that's who you were referring to. Is that fair?
I was certainly referring to the threats that we are now facing with this stated goals of this administration, which would upset the last 70 years of a new world order which was established after World War II. 70 years based on human rights, respect for the law, free trade, all of the things and aspects of this world order that took place after one of the most horrific, terrible wars in history, and I'm for maintaining it.
We are grateful to be citizens of one nation under God, who acclaim this evening that in God we trust. Bless our two candidates, our benefactors, and those whom the L. Smith Foundation has been honored to serve for 7 decades. Guide us safely home, both this evening and for all eternity, through Christ our Lord. Amen.